Okay, so I have received my asbestos test kit and I am going to follow the instructions and scrape some samples off the ceiling and then send them away to be tested. Hopefully by the end of this week I will find out, and then I can see if all is good to scrape this junk off the ceiling. I am keeping my fingers crossed that it actually is, because the houses were built at the end of the 90s and I'm pretty sure that asbestos was known to not be very good for you at that time. However, looking online, it wasn't 100% illegal to use until like 99 here in the UK. So anything, someone could have cut corners somewhere. So just to be safe, I'm going to use it. I am going to use all my fancy equipment and old clothes that I can put away in a bag. And then if the test comes negative, I can just throw them in the wash. And if it's positive, then I can dispose of them appropriately. Because, you never know. Hopefully I won't need to get rid of them. But if I do, then we'll have other bigger things to worry about. So fingers crossed. Let's see if we can manage to get this thing to work. All right, sample has been taken. We are now going to double bag it, follow the instructions, fill in the form, and send it off. And we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed, it's negative. So happy news, the results from the asbestos test came back and it was all negative. So I'm very excited to get started on the ceiling, and I'm going to take advantage of this week, as well as my eldest daughter is away on a school trip for a week, to do all this dirty work in the room. So the ceiling and any sanding and patching of the walls and stuff, anything that'll create a lot of dirt and dust, because I can move all my stuff into her room and, sleep there. And that way no one gets bothered and disturbed and whatnot. So my first step is going to be to get everything that is not easily wipeable out of this room. And then I'm going to start on the ceiling and I will tell you how I am going to remove this stuff. All right, so I have taken down anything that is not easy to wipe or keep clean, and now I'm going to gather all the supplies that I'm going to need to scrape the Artex off the ceiling, and then I will come by and tell you exactly how it's going to work, and then we'll do it together and see if it actually does work. I have watched a lot of YouTube tutorials on how to remove the Artex ceiling or popcorn ceiling, and basically it seems pretty easy and straightforward to actually get it off. Afterwards it gets a bit more finicky after, when you have to sand it all down and all that kind of stuff, but one step at a time in my opinion. So you really don't need a lot of tools in order to scrape off the ceiling. What you're going to need is some plastic or bins or old sheets or whatever, just to protect the floor, because it's going to be a very messy job. You're going to kind of scrape it off the ceiling and just let it fall. So probably, broom, dustpan, bag for rubbish, definitely. You'll need all of that. So cover any surfaces that you don't want getting damaged if a bigger chunk falls down. And then The other thing that you're going to need is a scraping tool. I got this set of 3 really super cheap, I think the hardware store at B&Q, when I went to get paint chips and ended up coming out with a drill and a few other bits. So something that you can just use to scrape with, and then safety goggles because you do not want that falling in your eyes. And then what you're going to do first is you're going to spray it with a water and vinegar solution. So just plain old white vinegar, cleaning vinegar, pickling vinegar, whatever you want to call it. I think they call it alcohol vinegar in some places. But anyways, it's just plain vinegar, whatever brand you want. I have seen people buy a vinegar solution spray at Aldi that they say is really good, but I figured if I've got the vinegar, I've got the water, I've got the spray bottle, make it myself, don't spend extra money. So I did about 50-50 here. And then if you want, you could wear a mask. I'm probably not going to wear it until I have to sand. But you know, it's there. Maybe the smell of the vinegar kind of makes you sick. It's too much and you don't want to, you know, be inhaling all that. Make sure you open a window, of course, and you'll need something to get up high enough. So a step ladder, stool, chair, that's what I'm using. And yeah, so basically they say that what you do is first you give a really good spraying to the section of the ceiling that you want to work on. Wait about a minute or 2, and then you're supposed to be able to come by with the spatula thing, scraper, and it just should slide right off. So we'll see how that works. I'll let you know if my little 50-50 solution works and how easy or hard it is to get this done and how long it's going to take me to do this bedroom. All right, so I figured I could just start in a corner and give it a really good soaking just to see how it works here. Definitely smell the vinegar. But it's not as bad as I thought it would be. So I'm going to leave that to soak in for a minute while I get my little safety goggles on, and then we will begin the scraping and see what happens. All right, it's been a couple minutes, so let's see. Okay, it's not so bad. It doesn't come off as cool as it looked in the videos, but I'm guessing because this has been painted, tape, okay, we have tape, painted so many times over the years that obviously the paint makes it a bit harder. But yeah, there's the mess it's making. Let's zoom you in. There you go. So I'm just gonna keep going and see what happens and see how long it takes. Okay, so this is about 8-10 minutes of work. Might have bitten off a bit more than I can chew. It's definitely not gonna be a quick job, but I can definitely see it's a lot smoother. Here's the board underneath. So if I could get all the white bits off and then sand it, it should be ready enough for being primed and painted. But yeah, it's definitely been painted quite a few times. So I have to kind of go through all the layers of paint. So I'm using the big one to go through the paint, and then the smaller one just to get down to the actual board here. So yeah, this is gonna take a while. I think I might be a couple days considering I'm doing it in like little bits of time that I do have. And the mess is substantial, but I'm sure it'll be worth it in the end. It's been about an hour, and this is how much I've managed to do of the room. So yeah, it is going to take a while, and I am very much a mess. I don't know if you can see, but now I am going to tidy up this, have some lunch, do a bit of other work, and then keep going. So, might have, underestimated how long it would take. My child has returned from her residential and I only managed to get this much done. You only have so many hours in a day, but I'm really have the whole afternoon today, so I'm gonna see if I can manage to at least finish scraping this stuff off at last. All right, I'm gonna call it done. It's not the best in the corner, but I won't deny I was running out of steam, and this corner, I'll turn behind me, you can see this white thing. There was a really bad built-in closet thing, and it went up in the coving here and there. So, and then there was quite a few holes in the top, and we had used some deep gap filler. So it turns into like cement. So not all of it came off, but I'm hoping that with the sander, it will come off. So I'm going to use some really coarse grit first and see if that helps. And then I'll go over it with a slightly finer, but I'm not even going to go too far because between the primer and the paint, hopefully that'll smooth it down a bit. So let's go. Phase I've lost count. So after nearly a week and a couple days, I finally managed to finish scraping all the Artex off and sanding the ceiling. I think I definitely underestimated the amount of work that it would involve, and I certainly underestimated the amount of dirt and dust and insanity that would come out of doing it. It was absolutely insane. Upstairs still looks like it snowed, and I've been trying to clean things off for the last couple days. But I'm sure it'll get to normal eventually. I like how it looks now. It's nice and smooth. But I do want to share with you a few things that I've learned, in the hopes that if I decide to tackle it again in another room, or if you decide to give it a try, maybe you won't make the same mistakes I do. So the first thing I learned is that for the vinegar water solution, more vinegar is better. It seems to do a good job at kind of softening the paint and making it a bit easier to scrape off. Whereas if you do 50-50, I noticed that it took a bit longer for the paint and the Artex to soften. So yeah, I think a good sweet spot is more like a 70-30 solution, because the smell can get a bit overpowering otherwise. And then another thing, definitely make sure you've got a stash of face masks and safety goggles, because you're going to need to clean those safety goggles off. And cover your hair. Don't do what I did. I just put it up in a ponytail and said, it'll be fine. No, I would suggest pulling out like a shower cap or a hoodie that, put your hood up if you've got a hoodie, or just something to protect your hair, because washing all that plaster and stuff out of your hair is a nightmare. And I am very grateful that I have short hair, but if you have long hair, you will regret having that. And another thing that I would recommend is that you use the appropriate sander for the job. I just used my little mouse sander because that's the only thing I had. And I got about halfway done and it died. Probably because it's not meant to be used upside down where the plaster and the dust and stuff can stay inside it. It's supposed to come out. And I think I probably choked the motor and overheated it and it went. I think that those ones with the extendable pull, they are made to be used upside down and probably would be a better idea than having to finish your ceiling by hand. Sanding it by hand, which I can guarantee my arms got a good workout. But yeah. So after you scrape it off, make sure it's dry, get the proper sander, and then sand it. I used the coarse grit and it was just fine. So now it's ready to be primed and then painted. But before that, I am going to patch up some holes. Some previous owner of the house drilled some holes in the ceiling, probably for like hanging plants or something. So I'm going to patch those up and just, once that's all dry, just sand it down a bit. And I've got some holes in the wall and stuff that I want to sort out. So since I'm making a mess, I may as well do it all at once, right? And then I'm going to put my bedroom back together again. And once I get my paycheck, I will be buying the rollers and the paint and all the things that we need for the next phase. And of course, as always, I will keep you updated. So if you've enjoyed seeing this process and coming along with me on my redecorating adventure, I would really appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe button or leave a comment below. Maybe tell me about your experiences with removing Artex if you've tried it before. And hit the little bell so that you'll always know whenever I upload. In the meantime, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. And don't forget that anyone can do DIY. Bye-bye.